is iRacing. In 1950, something new came to the world. It was called the Formula One Championship, and it was held at a little airfield here in Great Britain. Well, we roll on to 2026, and this is what has happened to that little airfield. It is one of the biggest racetracks in the world, and some people would call it the home of motorsport. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Silverstone for this round of the iRacing Grand Prix Tour, brought to you by the Global SimRacing Channel. With that, I'm going to tell you that my name is Craig King. In the booth with me is Joseph Black. Our director today is Christian Deploy, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. It has been a staple for many years. Many different iterations, many different layouts. Not the old layout with the bridge, but this is still a very popular layout nowadays. To find out more about Silverstone, we head to the GSRC track guide.
Welcome to Silverstone. Most famously known for being the first circuit to host a round of Formula One, this place has since become synonymous with British motorsports. Hosting everything from sports cars to touring cars to open wheels and even motorcycles, it's a track that fits a wide variety of vehicles. With 3 different layouts to choose from, you've got a little something for any level of racing. The longest of those layouts boasts 18 turns along 3.19 miles. That comes out to 5.13 kilometers in metrics, so it can take a bit to get around it, even in higher powered machinery. Its main characteristics are the high-speed straights and corners and general lack of elevation change. Its most famous set of turns is most definitely the Maggots-Beckett sequence, in which anything with high downforce finds itself challenged with the rapid changes of direction. However, don't discount the first couple corners in this latest iteration of the track. Abbey and Farm often require a greatly balanced car and some serious bravery if you're side by side. Corners such as Village, Brooklyn, Stowe, and Vale see the majority of overtaking action, but in cars with less horsepower, expect the draft to offer other opportunities. The Hangar Straight is perhaps the most notorious for draft battles to erupt. All in all, this versatile racetrack located just northwest of London provides both history in its roots and action on the tarmac. The huge number of British fans that typically attend events are seldom left wanting.
Well, Joseph, it's the home of F1 and the home of motorsport. I've not been here. You have, though, and this is the track with a lot of corners.
It certainly is. It was my first circuit to go to as a spectator, and I've been there as a commentator as well, so I know it very, very well, and I particularly know that sort of segment around Cops, because that's where I was. It's turn 6 and 7, a prime overtaking opportunity. You can set it up down the straight just before, and well, there's plenty of high-speed corners around here. Maggots and Beckett will be promising some action. These 3.66 miles, the just a touch under 6 kilometre circuit, should be a very good one. It's one that Formula One likes to return to, and so therefore the Grand Prix Tour.
Yeah, we have been here every season for the Grand Prix Tour. And interestingly, 5 different winners in 5 different races. I think that's going to change tonight, though, as we head to the standings overall. And you may see why I'm saying that, because there's 2 names at the top of this field that have won here and would love to win again. Eduardo Radice is now 33 points clear of Jacob Reed. That gap keeps growing. It is over a race victory now. James Byrne is another 50 points, well, just under 50 points behind Jacob Reed. Sander Haggerud will be in 4th, and Walter Lux will take 5th. Jeffrey Lawler will be in 6th, just ahead of Mario Bodlos, and then it's Alex Hagland in 8th. Leonard Polsinaris will take 9th, and George Van Rensburg will be in 10th. And I'm just having a look. I always like to see if anyone's close behind, and not really. Edward Opariari just behind in 11th. Well, this is the imitation of the real world, so they've got to go around here for 52 laps. But Joseph's got more information on what the drivers were expecting today.
We were almost halfway through the season. We've got 52 laps, as you say, Craig, of this Grand Prix circuit. Open setup, so they can do whatever they like to it, apart from crash it, because they will get no spare car. There will be a drive-through at 17 points and additional penalties every 8 for these drivers. Hopefully, should be avoiding that tonight. It's a pretty expansive, wide circuit. And as we cross over to what will be the halfway point of the season, the championship is starting to sort of work itself out.
Yeah, that gap has really started to move, and we're not close to moving day yet, but this is a important stage of the championship as we see the racetrack there. I'm just trying to see if I can see the bridge. Yeah, I can just see the bridge there. The old track layout is still there, just at the top of your screen as the drivers are getting their first times in. It's a hot one out there as here's Eduardo Radice, the number 2 car. We're looking at a 38 Celsius track temp at the moment for the Americans, just over 100 Fahrenheit, and the wind is going to play a little bit of a factor here. It's 12 kilometers an hour northeasterly, which basically means they're going to be dealing with a lot of side wind today. As Radice will go on board, James Byrne already sets the fastest lap, but we're going to take a nice little go there as one and done for Eduardo Radice.
Eduardo Radice didn't feel as though he wanted to go for another lap, but we're going to go on board with Jacob Reed then for a lap around the Silverstone circuit, and he's just about to head through Copse Corner, heading down now towards the Maggots and Beckett's segment. Somebody is going to be brave enough or stupid enough, one of the two, to make a move through here. You've got to really tighten yourself up as you head through turn 14 and out towards Chapel, the Hackney straight next up, and that will be the second DRS zone on this circuit before you head down to the uphill braking zone. Another overtaking opportunity down into Stowe once again if you're brave enough. It's a little bit more expansive than Copse, which means that it's more of an on opportunity as you were, but still a very difficult one indeed. Vale then down towards turn 16 and 17, out towards the final couple of corners, trying to stay tight to the apex. Jacob Reed with his first lap time is going to get a 1:32.790, and it looks like that may well have been an invalid lap for the number 3.
Yeah, very interesting to see an invalid lap there for Jacob. Didn't see where he picked up the 1X there to be invalid. Mario Bodlos is, well, coming out there as he hits the hanger straight. You'll see the wing is open. And I think these drivers, Jake's always told me, and I think those grooves showing that that is actually a lower downforce by the looks of it. Someone will correct me there on that rear wing. You can always tell he's already got P4. James Byrne just went pole position by a tenth, so it's that one lap shootout from Radice going to cost him. Haggerty goes up to 4th. Bodlos going to cross the line straight away. A 1:28.8. It's not better. And here's what it is. It's enough for P3, sorry. That's Radice going down all the way into 4th now.
Yeah, Eduardo Radice is not going to be happy with himself there. He was on, though, the slower compound of tyre. He was on the yellow-walled medium tyre, as we're now watching with Sebastian Rekhoff as he heads his way through as well and sees what he is going to be able to do. Currently in 11th place with the best lap time, just putting himself outside of the top 10, just behind Steneros in that 10th place. It was for Rekhoff last time out, about 3/10 off of the back of Steneros. No lap time so far for Jacob Reed, no valid lap time at least as he heads around the final corner. Will this be a valid time for the number 3? It's a 1:28.962. Enough for the top 5, enough for the top 3 rows. Dare I say it, he won't be happy with that one.
No, and he's not going to be alongside Radice either, as Kent Nielsen is going to be still celebrating Canada Day for the last few days. I know that was about around, but he'll take the unlucky 13th. And then we get to Dennis Branch, who will be getting ready to celebrate the 4th of July tomorrow, will the American, as he's coming out on his out lap and he's just getting himself prepared. I don't think he'll have time to settle up. 1:40 left in the qualifying as hits the Vale chicane and through to club. But he'll come across to Lewis Hamilton, the Sir Lewis Hamilton straight, I beg your pardon. Should get it if he's fast enough, but I don't know if he'll be able to. This is just him. That's already setting his time there. And Goldschmidt sets some more times. I think that's everybody, but is Radice going to really cost himself there for not setting that second lap time, I wonder?
I don't think so. I really don't personally think so, because I think Eduardo Radice is still, he's still starting from the top 2 rows of the field. He's not got Jacob Reed ahead of him. If he had Jacob Reed ahead of him, that would have been a whole different scenario. Now, of course, he's got James Byrne, who's up there on that pole position, but I really do think that he'll feel as though he can challenge with Byrne and he can challenge with Lawler into turn number 1. So, for the number 2, I don't feel as though he's going to be all too miffed about that one, even if it is naturally disappointing not to be starting from that front row of the field. And, of course, he did so on a slightly less fresh set of tyres or a slightly less soft set of tyres even. So I'd say that it's a decent qualifying session for him. Of course, he would have wanted to be on the front row, but still, second row of the field, not too bad. Ahead of Jacob Reed, ahead of Sander Haugerud, ahead of Walter Lux. 3 of the top 5 he's managed to top off. The other 2 will be himself and James Byrne on that pole position.
Yeah, all these drivers right now just going through some little bit of practice laps here to get an idea. If you're thinking about the tyre strategy today, it's going to be a 2-stopper at least. For Jacob Reed, that could be a 1-stopper. We know what he's been able to do recently, but in these temperatures, I don't think that's going to work. Should be a 2-stopper today. May see the push if you can get a 3-stopper with some decent track position. But for James Byrne, all he cared about is looking straight ahead. No one in front of him. Jeffrey Lawler's going to be beside him in 2nd, and Mario Bodlos will be in 3rd. Then it said Eduardo Radice in 4th, and Jacob Reed in 5th. Sander Haggerud will take 6th, and Walter Lux 7th. Edward Pariari will be in 8th.
And that will round out the top 8, and just outside of that, rounding out the top 10, will be Amin Alishahi and Florian Kamaya. They will be rounding out the top 10. Filippo Manoni just behind Kamaya, and then Leopold Steneros, the last driver, within a second of our pole man. Then Kent Nielsen will be in 13th place. Ali Gotchman will be in 14th. Sebastian Rekov will be in 15th. And Max Barnes, 16th.
Just one more page as Lyle Pina will take 17th and Robert Ridgway will be 18th. Then it's Adam Williams in 19th and Dennis Branch is the last of the time qualifiers in 20th. With Ballas Galliar, I know it says minus 1 minute 29.607. That's because he did not set a lap time. So he will be on the back of the field, and the Hungarian really curious to see what he's going to be able to do on the back of that there. So could be interesting. I'm also looking at some of these tire strategies as the drivers get on board. Ebba Pariari, Steneras and Nilsson and Ballas Galliar as well, all on the hard tires. Well, I did see some drivers attempt the hard. I didn't think this was the sort of track that could do it. I know Phillip Island and Monza definitely decent enough for the hard compounds out there today, but today though, hard tires on some of these drivers, real surprise out there. And I think we're just waiting on Jacob Reed to grid up, and he does it. The mixture of hard and softs. But the important thing will be there's 52 laps for the drivers today. They get ready to rev up and they wait for the green flag to drop, and it is green flag. It's a terrible start for James Byrne. Absolutely bogs down, and Lawler's going to take this side by side as they approach into Abbey, and now the inside for the farm curve for James Byrne. Wide, almost onto the grass goes Jeffrey Lawler, who'll have to concede that. Meanwhile, Jacob Reed with a good start there, and it's a little bit of carnage for some drivers having to make checkups as they come into village.
Yeah, definitely a dramatic start for a lot of the drivers, but a great start for James Byrne. In the end, he's got that gap of over a second, which is absolutely crucial. Jacob Reed and Eduardo Radice are 2 championship contenders side by side. Radice has the inside. That will turn to the outside for the next braking zone, and that means that Jacob Reed will have to be later on the brakes. He's successful in that venture, and so he's able to stay ahead in 4th place. Radice tucks in and just has Walter Lux for company right behind him. But now they head down to Copse, and these are critical corners for this Grand Prix.
And he goes around the outside of Copse, and they're still side by side as they hit Maggot, and Reed doesn't have a line into the next corner. It comes to Beckett's now. Can't do anything. What a start, though, from James Byrne. He's already a second and a half ahead of everybody else. Radice right on the back now of Mario Bodlos, because Bodlos is on the hard, as is Reed. Radice is on the mediums. The top 3, well, 3 of the top 4 slides a little bit, and who's gone into the pit? It's Jeffrey Lawler into the pit. What's happened there for Jeffrey?
Oh, that will be a grave shame for what was at one point somebody challenging for the lead. Jeffrey Lawler into the pit lane. He is joined by a number of drivers who head in as well. Branch being one of them further down the order, and I'm sure we'll be getting plenty more throughout the course of the start of this race. It's just those 2, I think, for the time being, but a dramatic start for all of these drivers, and we'll see where they can go. Amin Ali Shahi challenging for that 7th place, just on the back of Williams for now. But that was a dramatic start at the top of the field. It has worked absolutely perfectly for James Byrne. 2.8 is an incredible gap.
Yeah, and give a shout out here as well. This is Amin Alahashi as he's battling Adam Williams, who's up 12 places already. Florian Kamaya already up, well, and it's a net 0 there. There was contact, by the way, with Lawler. No idea where he got contact with, but he must have had some damage. He spent a bit of time in the pits, and he's gone onto the soft tyres, so it could be a very interesting strategy for him as Kamaya is going to be battling Apari Ari as they go through. We have a look at this replay. Very chaotic start to the race at the front, but watch this. This is Lyle Piniar, the South African. A little bit of a tap. I think that was Dennis Branch that just touched him. And they all kind of concertinaed when they got to the village corner.
Yeah, it makes sense then why Branch pitted on the end of lap 1. He came in and made the switch as well. He was one of 2 drivers, of course, the other one being Jeffrey Lawler. So that was a big shame for him. Florian Kamai heading down towards turn number 16. Having a look at making the move, not quite doing so just yet. Ali Shahi into the pit lane as well. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, no idea what's happened to Alashali there, but got to be a reason for that. As this is Kent Nilsson going in. And oh, now I wonder, is that Alashali there just making contact there? Could have been. And these are quite fragile cars nowadays, so a little bit of damage to that front wing can cause some damage. And yeah, that was Amin there having to take that damage, and I wouldn't be surprised if he had a broken wing, and we know how long a broken wing can be. In fact, cone to cone into the pit, about the same as Lawler, so that says to me definitely had to get a nose repair.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate then so early on in this Grand Prix, because that was just you know, it's a grave shame to have a problem on the very early stages, because you haven't really had an opportunity to settle yourself into the race. Although, on the contrary to that, some people may well say that it's good to have it then, rather than later on in the race, because then you can come back. We'll see how the race progresses for somebody who is showing quite decent pace early on was Ali Shahi. And of course, we will never quite know how promising that race could have been, full stop. And we will find out where he can recover that race from. This is Walter Lux in 5th place right now, just behind Jacob Reed, and gets a much better exit. There is going to be the inside line. He set himself up out of stow. Jacob Reed's going to allow him the position.
This is interesting because Reed is on the hards, so is Mario Bodlos, and Bodlos is putting in some real good times at the moment. I mean, not as good as James Byrne, but it's enough for him to get a gap between him and Radice, so Radice can't get in the DRS range. Reed just got swallowed up, and I look back at some of the strategy this week, and the hard tire, some drivers have gone for it, and I looked at that and thought, well, I don't think the hard tire is really a tire that wants to work around here. And well, I'm having to eat my words because some drivers doing it, but here's Hagelov right now, and he's on the back of Jacob Reed, and this is not what we expect to see from Jacob Reed. That usually he'd either being patient and playing a conservative game, but this isn't conservative. This is him almost being on the back foot, because Hageru's going to get the DRS when they come out of Maggots and Beckett's in theory, and Reed's nowhere near it on Volta Lux.
It's very interesting indeed for those drivers early on in this race, and we will of course see how they progress. Sander Haugerud as well, he's in 6th place right now, and he's on the back of Jacob Reed, who seems to be really struggling, but don't forget those tyres will be getting better later on into this stint, and we'll see exactly how much better they're going to get later on into the stint, as here comes Sander Haugerud with the run, with the slipstream, and with the overtake up into 5th place. Jacob Reed dropping down into 6th. The next driver who could be making an attack is Adam Williams, who is on, of course, a set of those mediums, so he will be quicker for now, and Jacob Reed is just hoping that those hards aren't going to lose him too much time.
I feel that they'll come to him later in the stint. We'll have to wait to see that, because, well, in the moment, Radice is now charging on Mario Bodlos, and I'm just looking at these times here, and as Mario did a 33.7 last time, it was a 32.8 for Radice, a 32.6 for Lux. It feels like the hard tires just can't get the temperature in them at the moment. Reed struggling through the corners, and I wonder if Mario struggling through the corners as well. Radice would love to go back-to-back at Silverstone. He won it last year and would love to win it again, extend that championship lead to Jacob Reed. But he also does have Volta Lux behind him, and been a while since we've seen Volta up the front here in P4 at the moment. Would love to get back on the podium. Well, he's got a few drivers in front of him, though, but even still, look at that, though. We haven't talked a lot about the American. Byrne is already 5 seconds ahead, and Radice is slower than him at the moment. So look for that later in the race. It's still early days. We're only lap 5 as Lux really wants to be the aggressor here.
He really does right now. Walter Lux is having a look at the back of Eduardo Radice with some... He's very interested in making that move onto the podium, and you can understand it because he would feel as though Mario Bodlos is currently getting away with it in that second place. They've managed to punish somebody as talented as Jacob Reed, so why can't they have an attack on Mario Bodlos, who's of course a little bit further down in the championship, although he has only finished on the podium so far this season. He's had 4 entries, 1 DNF, but then second place finishes at the Nürburgring, Montreal, and at Miami as well. So for Mario Bodlos, he is doing a very, very good job at the moment in this championship, despite a part-time campaign, and he looks set for his next second place finish. But Walter Lux will feel as though he's getting away with it right now. He's getting away with having those slower tyres. Radice is not punishing him as much as he could, and Lux wants to kind of push on Eduardo Radice a little bit more.
Yeah, Lux wants to roar on ahead because if Radice doesn't want to be the aggressor, and here he goes into Brooklands looking to see if he can do it, but going to have to go the long way around at Luffield right now, and can work. And if you've got the soft tyres up to medium tyres up the temperature, that should be able to do it. And lo and behold, not a lot that Mario can do there for a moment. And again, trying to make that run up there, not working, and Lux right on the back now. Look at it. You can barely see Volta right there until that Mario just pulls out a little bit. There he is as well behind them. Sander Hagerud. Jacob Reed is getting gapped right now. He's going backwards. This is well, for some drivers, a twitch there from Lux. Is that going to hinder him, I wonder, because the DRS has been shut by Mario. Mario shut the DRS. Joseph, why would a driver shut that DRS on the straight to try and defend?
I think that, I really think he was trying to either just catch Walter Lux off guard, or he was just succumbing that position. He was sacrificing it because it wasn't worth the fight. It wasn't worth having a go and just defending again and again and again, because then he'll just lose time overall in this race. So I think it's a little bit of gamesmanship from our Austrian friend in the number 5 at the moment. But I think it's just going to come to fruition later on when he can pick up that slipstream, when he can pick up that DRS, and he's going to try to hold on to it, I think, now. There's going to be a little bit of push for Bodlos, and I think he's also pushed it quite hard in trying to defend from Radice and Lux in the first place. Now he can sort of settle back into his rhythm.
Yeah, would love to do that, but behind him right now is Sander Hagerud, who's still trying to find his way to a late, well, I say a late surge, we're at the halfway stage of the season. Would love a surge at the end of the season to try and get that last podium spot in the championship, and forcing mistakes out of Bodlos, but also making mistakes himself. And it's interesting how these hard tyres have not got up to temperature or not got the grip. We're already lap 7 here, and the 2 hard runners at the front here, as Reed and Bodlos, well, they're really lapping a little bit slow here. Tyre deg will come in for these medium tyres, definitely, but when does that deg come in for them? When do those times start to drop? Because the hard drivers are still in the mid-33s. These medium drivers, they're basically in the low 33s, and Sanders going to get another overtake here. He goes up +2 for the day, thanks to the DRS. Easy overtake before they hit the Stowe.
Certainly is Sander Hagerud up to 4th place now. Mario Bodlos dropping back and now into the clutches of maybe Jacob Reed in behind. So the number 5 gamble to try and drop those positions has not quite worked. Adam Williams, by the way, has gained 12 places off the start. He started 19th. Look at where he is now, 7th spot. So an impressive climb from the 13 to put himself up where he is now. Sebastian Rekov as well, gaining 6. Max Barnes gaining 5, and Walter Lux gaining 4, up from 7th all the way to 3rd. And it's fair to say that he's had a great start, as has Eduardo Radice. The 2 positions he's gained have been very, very crucial ones indeed, and he's just looking to keep it consistent throughout the course of the season. He's of course looking for a 3-peat of wins, but if he can't pick those up, it'll be important that he can finish ahead of Jacob Reed in the championship, so he can head towards the halfway stage with that decently healthy 32-point buffer, and maybe even extend it. Jacob Reed down in 6th place at the moment, gambling that strategy, and we'll see whether the number 3s will pay off.
Yeah, I don't think there's a casino here around Silverstone? If they have, please gamble responsibly. Jacob's been doing a lot of gambling this season, and to be fair, sometimes it has worked, sometimes it has not worked. And this suggests to me, though, if he's on the hard, he may be looking to do a one-stopper. I joked about it when I started the broadcast that maybe that was going to have a little bit of issue. So, yeah, very weird by Jacob this season. It's a very trusting attack that he's been doing this season, but he's going to have to push on against Mario Bodlos. And, well, now he's getting himself sorted. This is what I was talking about earlier, where all he wants to do is just keep consistent. Now he's green. Now he's just, well, he was green last time. Big time incident there in the background, and that is Mione. And I think that was Barnes as well. Ali Goshman goes by as well. Three cars all just trying to get back together. And, oh, that's that's naughty. That's naughty. That's naughty indeed. I think, I don't know if he realized there that Barnes was a little bit slower, but that was very weird there. Very silly, and there's a lot of overdriving by all parties there as Jacob Reed looks to make the move onto Bodlos. The DRS has worked for him. Yeah, that's got on there for Jacob. And now he's got up into P5. So as he continues on, look at the train that was growing up behind him as well, because Adam Williams making his way up. And I did have a look at Adam Williams to start of the race. And yeah, he made up a lot of places. Remember, he's plus 12 for the day. Just that car in the background, not that one, that second one there. A lot of positions made. Let's look at this incident that we just missed. As very confusing here down into the Velchicane. Mione gets an interesting run. That door opens up, but that is so tight. And well, I hate to say it. So at some point, you've got to turn in, but you also got to respect that there's a car there. And, well, I don't understand this second part. Is the car slow? I don't understand that second part by any party involved. Is it a slow car, or is it not the front car not responding? Or is it the car in the back just going full speed there? I'm not entirely sure, but they're all into the pits now. I think that was another driver caught out as well from that. As yeah, it's Max Barnes into the pits. I think he got caught out in that damage as well. That's a big time issue there for the drivers. But the main thing is for Jacob Reed, as he continues on, I think those tires are back into temperature.
Yeah, I feel as though they are right now, and this is going to be massively beneficial later on because, of course, he's done the hard yards. He's managed to work off the issues that he had earlier on with those tyres. And, of course, with them being the harder compounder tyre, the slower one, quote-unquote, because, of course, at this point in the stint, they're probably the quicker ones. Jacob Reed now 1.7 off the back of Sounder Haugerud. Expect that gap to come down. And on the last lap, well, it was about equal. So not quite yet, maybe, for those drivers, but there will certainly become a point where it becomes the crossover point. And if right now is the crossover period, that's going to be a very promising sign for Jacob Reed because he's still relatively early into his stint. Autolux third place right now and chasing all over the back of Eduardo Radice. We mentioned earlier on how much of the aggressor he is trying to be in the early portion of this race, and that is certainly proving true right now, all over the back of Eduardo Radice, and you feel as though he's going to be trying to make a move before anything else because, well, he just seems to be that he wants to pick himself up and put himself in the strongest position possible, and if he does so at the expense of Eduardo Radice, well, so be it.
As Lux goes on, let's talk about this strategy because some of the drivers catching us out using the hards today. And in races earlier this week, remember, this is not the first race. This is the money slot, as Jake would say. Radice won a race, a session earlier today. Went medium, soft. He went lap 26. Luke Vesti, sorry. Medium, soft. He pitted lap 21. Then you get Max Barnes when a medium hard. He was going 20 and 32. And then you've got Adrian Clark, who went hard and soft. Very weird combination, 32 and 20. So that gives you an idea of that window. This window is going to be opening between lap 20 and lap 35 altogether for all the drivers. So that gives you an indication of what we're going to be expecting, as Steneras is one of those hard drivers at the moment. Edward Apari, Ari, always get that tongue twisted there, battling as well. These are the drivers that will look to try and push on hard with this stint, but they have lost a bit of time because those hard tyres took a long time to warm up.
They did, and that's why we saw Jacob Reed falling so dramatically earlier on, which felt like a weird one because he was dropping a lot more significantly than Bodlos, and then I think Bodlos just had some temperature issues at the end of that first segment where he did drop behind Lux and Haugerud in the end. So they certainly weren't the optimal tyres to start on, and we'll see whether they are going to be the optimal tyres to have started on, because they struggled through that early period. Florian Kameyer, 8th place further down in the order, and he's got Williams for company, who of course had an incredible start, managed to gain up 12 places, and so this will be a move that would be unpopular for the German to make on Williams ahead, because of course Williams has worked so hard to gain up these positions, but at the same time it is going to be something that maybe G's him on even further, because when you do make those moves up, when you do gain those positions up, when you do have those starts like he did, you can sometimes feel a little bit, you might get a bit ahead of yourself and you go, okay, well, I'm happy with this, but then the fact that Kameyer's all over the back of him is going to keep him honest and keep him pushing.
Yeah, Adam, give credit to Adam. He made a bunch of overtakes up, had a really good start off the line, timed the start to perfection, and then he gained probably about 3 or 4 positions with the spins through Vale and Club on the first lap, but he's up 12. So if he only gained about 4 positions through that incident, you can work out that he had a mega first lap there with just a few drivers, but no DRS right now. He is just a duck waiting to get caught out. But the inside for Kameyer, he just can't make it. And in the old days, Stowe was a bit flatter. The outside was always better. But nowadays, with that elevation change, it isn't. But Williams has done his best to hold on to it. And using the tricks that he has learned from watching this from all his life, the Brit is going to hold on from Kameyer at a great save. But he was saved by the Hangar Straight, the Wellington Straight. If he's got no help, that's not going to help him.
Yeah, it's one of those circuits that the Brits have done probably more than everybody else. So it will be one of those where he knows where to make the moves. And we're going to watch a replay in just a couple of moments' time of that start. There we go. Here is on board with the number 13, Adam Williams, getting the revs up before the start of the race. And then he got the action underway. A very, look at that launch from Adam Williams, unbelievable. Already gaining 3 places off the start. He's going to pick another one off at turn 1 potentially. There we go, there's that move, and he's still going to keep that one moving up. Just a very good launch that gave him the confidence. Big send on the outside, which meant that he didn't gain that position. And how many does he get from the spins? Well, there's one that slowed down, there's 2 where he sent it down the inside. I wouldn't say that he gained much off the spins. I'd say that he was just a lot more confident on the brakes.
And look at this as well as he goes around the outside of entry there with another position. Absolute mega at the moment. And then around the outside of Brooklands on another. This is a fantastic lap. Still there side by side. And then continues on. Get that move done. No, still side by side. So he's battling with someone side by side in this battle. Then still managing to get some more position. By the way, in real world, he has lost that position in the DRS to Kameyer, as we did predict. But that just goes to show, if you know where to put the car in, this opening section of the new Silverstone, it's still new to me, Joseph. It's 15 years old, I know. But this new Silverstone, it's so slow. On an opening lap, you really can take advantage of people being a bit too slow.
I won't tell you how old I was when this new quote-unquote new Silverstone circuit was implemented. But yes, I mean, it certainly is one of those circuits that can provide that challenge. James Byrne at the moment leading the way. He's not feeling any form of challenge at all. He's 5 seconds up the road right now. And Waterlux is going to be chasing behind Eduardo Rodis, hoping that he can push on towards this leader at the end of their first stint. But yeah, he just really had that start. He really had that launch and avoided all of the problems. That's the benefit of starting first. It's the fact that you're able to avoid the little bit of carnage that goes on behind. You're able to avoid any of the attacks that come from behind if you get that launch off of the line. That's exactly what he was able to do. And from there, well, he's just not really let off at all. He's continued on his merry way up in the lead of this race. And he looks as though he's just going to continue that way. Eduardo Rodis, though, trying to close in. And he has actually closed in on this lap. It's now 3.3.
Do you know, it's crazy how much of a gap that Byrne has made this race when he's basically had the slowest start out of everybody in the field. And somehow, here he was 5 seconds ahead at one stage of the race, and now Radice starting to catch him. And I wonder if that tire deg is now hitting. It's still 39 Celsius out there, and even Lux having a bit of an issue there. But the wing will come open. The DRS is there for Lux. Nothing there for Radice. That's going to allow Walter to stay in this slipstream, and Dudier's not going to be playing a very good game with these shows. I keep looking at the glossiness of the tires, and when they get duller, you start to see the tire wear, but they're not really dull at the moment, so don't need to worry about that too much. And Joseph, if we're playing the age game, I remember Michael Schumacher breaking his leg around here, so I've now just given away some of my age. I can remember that. I do feel old now.
I certainly don't remember that. But yeah, either way, it's a fantastic circuit that has had many different memories for everybody else, and for everybody really, because of course it was the first circuit on the Formula One calendar. The Queen was she cut the ribbon, as you were, on the World Formula One Championship, so it's a fantastic circuit indeed, and as I say, carries very many memories. I've commentated here, I've watched races here. It was my first circuit. Embarrassingly, as late as last year, I went here for the first time in about April, and well, it just struck me ever since, because it's just such a grandiose sort of event. Even if it wasn't for any major racing, it wasn't for the F1, it wasn't for the World Endurance Championship, for anything like that runs at this circuit, it's still a fantastic track. And yeah, it's just very much a great one to watch. By the way, for reference, the year I was born, Fernando Alonso won here, so take that as you will.
Okay, yeah, we're playing that game. At least I'm not as old as when the Queen unveiled this F1 Championship for the first time, but I do have the memories, and I know a lot of people will have the memories of what this track has given down the years. I know nowadays it's not really a fun track for overtaking. It wasn't really in the old days, back when the bridge was around, but the drivers still tried to really work in, and this is where strategy game will be important for some of these drivers, as the Swede Steneras still battling EOA. Edward Apariari at the front, and these are the drivers that, well, come on, you got your hard tires up the temperature now, boys. You're really going to start to try and see if you can close this gap to Sebastian Rekov in front. That gap is 2 seconds to Rekov, so they're going to have to try and work this, but they're not close enough to even do the IndyCar leapfrogging on the straight. That would really help them right now. Maybe Leopold's just heard me. No, just a bit too much there. The DRS not helping, and dirty air through Maggot, Beckett and Chappell will not help somebody who would love to attack on the hanger straight, because that dirty air is really going to be testing the tyres.
It really is at the moment. It's not going to help them in any way, shape or form as well they head through. And that's why it was a very interesting decision indeed, when it sort of looked like Bodlos was going to let the Haugerud Lux Radice group go, because you kind of thought that he was setting himself up to sit in the dirty air. Obviously, we know that didn't happen because he dropped back, but it felt like a very odd decision for him to make, and I think it's just transpired to be just that, a panic decision made in the moment, which of course is the nature of racing, and it felt like an odd one, but now he's dropped back behind Jacob Reed, and he's going to try to rebuild his race, chasing in and working with the Worcester man at the moment, further down in the order. But it's always felt like a really odd decision to make. But you know, in the midst of the racing, you do make odd decisions, and maybe I could be very wrong, and he could come back, and it could look like a fantastic strategic decision. I'm not sure, but that will be seen out in the complexion of this race. I'm sure the pit window is going to start opening very soon for those drivers on the two-stop strategy, and then we can really see the nature of the Silverstone strategies come into play.
Yeah, I'm paying attention to those the lap times with this tire deg, as Steneras is finally going to make that move on Edward Apariari, get that done, and maybe a bit of overspeed there. Will there be an over-under from EOA? No, nothing this time. I was looking at these tire temperature, these tire laps, sorry. And to be fair, these medium runners have been pretty much consistent with their time. The hard tires, the hard tire runners definitely. You look at the likes of what Radice is doing right now. Well, he's starting to be about 4-5 tenths slower than what he was earlier on in the race, as Steneros makes that move. Ridgeway as well, trying to make some moves out there. Even though it's at the back, the American would love to get this. But remember, that number 16, he came into the pit. He was on the soft tires after taking a pit stop. He's almost moved to a free stop strategy right now. And those tires are really starting to fade. Look how dull those fronts are for the softs. And he's in the 34s. He was only dipped into the 32s once with those softs, but doing decent mid to low 33s. Now he's in the 34s. Those softs have absolutely gone.
But you can understand that gamble with the difficulty he had earlier on in the race, where he had that pace. And so it's going to be difficult to just... I think he's just going to basically make it up as he goes along at this point, using the data that he's built up earlier throughout the week. And yeah, it's going to be a struggle day today for him. But if he can do well enough to pick up maybe points, maybe not even points, just a strong position, he'll be happy with the finish to this race. But yeah, it's been a very, very difficult one for him to swallow, because he's been very good so far. Mario Bodlos, when is he going to decide to really start to turn on the pace later on into this stint? You feel as though it's coming. You feel as though he's got a bit more in the tank. But it's just about, when does he want to express that? When does he feel as though he's charged up enough? As we're going to get another GSRC replay. What is going to go on in this one? This is going to be Adam Williams. And, well, have we finally seen a chink in the very, very fast-charging man's armour? Yes, we have. And that is a big drift. It's almost like he's joining Jake Sperry this weekend.
Yeah, I wonder if he's going to make a quick run down to China. I think he'll be missing the first day of action there in China, but I think he'll still be holding on there. Mario Bodlos and Jacob Reed both just set 33 threes, which is great, except for the top three on the mediums are all doing 33 twos. So you're starting to see that those hard tires are working into the temperature now. The medium runners starting to struggle a little bit. Volta Lutz with a 33.2. Sander Hagerud was a 33.8, and I think that's what Reed's going to be catching up to as Lutz continues to harass Radice. And yeah, Volta would love a podium here. There it goes, Sander, straight into the pits. That's early. Lap 20 is early. That is definite two-stop strategy there for Sander, and I wonder, will he go to the softs? It's too early to go to the softs. Definitely, he'll be putting on a set of mediums, or will he be putting on a set of hards? It's the next question. Sebastian Rekhoff is well joining him. It's early days, but the pit window started.
Yeah, the drivers going for the undercut have certainly decided to trigger it right now, and they're committing to that two-stop strategy. It feels like a harsh one to commit early on when anything could really happen in this race. But of course, everybody is going to have different strategies throughout the course of it. Adam Williams is one that may well be considering it very soon, considering the momentum he had and the fact that a pit stop could now pick up his momentum a little bit more. But yeah, we'll see whether he is actually going to be able to do just that, as he looks as though he's going to be defending for his place in the top 8 right now. This is going to be a defence ahead of Apariari, and well, it's going to be ahead of Apariari, looking all over the back, about 6 tenths off the back. Gotchman and Nielsen as well, and this is an interesting one to watch from a tyre perspective. Apariari and Nielsen both on a set of the hards.
And Williams decided that he wanted to do a little bit of drifting, and his front tyres are now absolutely destroyed. So he may come into the pits as Lux continues on. Those two pit stoppers we saw, well, definitely Sebastian Rekhoff went to the hard. That's going to be an interesting decision for him later in the race. Hagerud onto the soft tyres. This early in the race, this hot in the race as well. Here's the GSRC track map. That number 7, that is Sander. That just gives you an idea where he is on the track, and that's going to be very interesting when it comes to pit stops here, as Adam Williams comes into the pit. Florian Kammeyer comes into the pit. So 2 more medium drivers into the pit. And Edward Apariari on hards comes in very early.
That's certainly a choice of all time for Edward Apariari. I'm not sure what he's going to be making the switch to, but potentially there might be some damage or something along those lines. Or he could be trying to get those tyres out of the way, because his idea is that he's going to go mediums. So who knows what Edward Apariari is cooking up right now, but he's certainly going to be cooking up a storm. And he wanted to get out of the dirty air as well of the cars in front, which he has done so, but at what cost?
It's interesting at what cost. Edward Apariari's gone from hard to soft, and then Williams goes from medium to hard. So all of a sudden, if you're on a hard tyre, you've gone to a soft. If you're on a medium tyre, you've gone to a hard. Or I'm not exactly sure what these strategies are. Kent Nelson is still battling on. He's got Hagerud on those softs right behind him. And look at one another driver who also already went onto the soft already. Ashi straight away getting in there, and here comes the leaders, Radice and Lutz into the pit. But James Byrne decides, nah, I haven't having to do any pushing. I'm just going to be happy enough here with these tyres. There's the two battling on, and it's a race in the pit lane.
Yeah, it certainly is right now, as there's going to be a move past. Kent Nielsen is going to make his way through on Ali Gotchman, and now Sander Haugerud tries to involve himself in it. They're three wide as they head down to the last braking zone, but Sander Haugerud, of course, will be able to get through with those fresher soft compound tyres. It's softs all round for Radice and for Lux.
That's an interesting call, and I wonder if some drivers going on softs have forced that issue, or maybe because of the fact that we've got a lot of drivers on these hards. This could be very interesting. Very tight there, as Hagerud almost clipped the wing of Kent Nielsen there. But holds on. Nielsen hasn't pitted. Gosman hasn't pitted. Top four hasn't pitted. And I think Robert Ridgway is well yet to pit. But Volta Lux, well, he's held up with Radice. Now he's got to try and get these tyres up the temperature. And he's struggling. By the way, Edward Apariari into the pits has retired. I think he may have had an issue and had to retire that car. Another DNF there. And, well, that number 16 car, Amin, in the back of this field, is just putting fast lap after fast lap after fast lap as the leader, James Byrne, comes into the pit. Will he go for the softs?
What could have been for the number 16. It's a huge shame for himself, but of course he'll pick himself up and surely be back in the next championship round or something along those lines. This is his debut in the series, and I'd say he's given himself a pretty good account of himself. What's James Byrne going to do from his set of the hard compound tyres? He's going to get up on the jacks, back down again, and will this be soft? Yes, indeed it will. So all the drivers going for similar strategies, at least at the top of the order, and I think they're very interesting ones. We are going to see where James Byrne comes out. He's going to come out just ahead of Eduardo Radice. Radice has the DRS on him. He's got the DRS on Steneros, and it's going to be down to whether Eduardo Radice is going to be able to get the power down as soon as he possibly can. Byrne has got those tyres right up to temperature, and so it looks as though he's staved off his competition for now.
Oh, on cold tyres, this is very brave, and Steneros has nowhere to go. That was a desperation move there by the American, because he realised the situation with these cold tyres, had to get him up to temperature. Radice realises that as well, but he can't catch up, losing a bit of time. James has to just keep pushing as these tyres continue to warm up. That gap, by the way, to Reed and Bodlos is 17 seconds, and it's going to keep closing with these fresh softs. Can Reed and Bodlos hold these hards for as long as they can before these softs go away? Can Byrne hold off Radice for as long as he can? This is basically for the net lead of the race, and I don't think that's going to happen. Side by side in the background as well. Let's get past Steneros as well. Because remember, Leopold has yet to pit. Lutz on those fresh softs. Radice still nowhere to be found. This is crucial time for these drivers, because they know the top two are on hards that are just coming down the peak of their performance.
Yeah, at the moment it's looking interesting. Walter Lutz with the fastest lap of the race, catching up to this group as well, so don't count the number 4 out of it at all. He will get into the DRS Eduardo Radice, I'd imagine, soon, as it looks as though we may well have lost another driver in this race. Apariari, Manoni, Galliard and Pinar are all out. And is this going to be the next driver that is out? The number 13 of Adam Williams, a great charge through the field today, and we'll see what he does. He just spins it on the exit of the corner, and well, that will be a retirement because there is no recovering that car. That's a huge crash.
That is not a crash you see in the real world, because that, from what I understand, is basically concrete there, from what I remember. There's not a lot of giving those, so not a lot he can do there, and he's just had to accept that. And now we've got two orangey cars. I think Leopold's got a yellow on the front, but it's definitely orange, as Hagerud is going to use these fresh softs to really attack. And as you go onto the roof, you go onto the hoop here, should get the DRS there. You see the time marks there of what happened to Williams. Such a shame, with such an amazing start to the race. Here comes Hagerud, cool, calm, collected, got the grip, got the tires, got the life, got the speed, and he's now going to have to try and find 2 seconds to catch up to Lux and Radice. And Radice has not been able to attack James Byrne, which that surprises me, because when those medium tires were starting, Joseph, well, he was starting to work on that pace, but Radice can't really close that gap right now.
No, he really can't right now. He's struggling to close that 8/10 gap, and Walter Lux on the last lap, he's not able to get close enough to challenge Radice either and push on the number 2 towards our number 1 and now provisional race leader as we head towards the halfway point in this race. Eduardo Radice is now 1.6 ahead of Walter Lux and is pushing. With the DRS, he's able to gain ahead of the number 4, and that is what is going to be crucial. Who is going to be able to keep those tyres in the best shape throughout the course of this stint? I would dare say that Walter Lux being outside of the DRS is a blessing for him, because he's far enough back that he's not going to be affected by dirty air. Eduardo Radice is just inside of the dirty air, and then James Byrne, you'd imagine, is pushing those tyres quite hard to stay ahead.
Well, here's the top 6 as well when it comes to the track map there, and that number 5 is Mario Bodlos. This isn't track position, this is their car numbers. So that number 5 is Mario Bodlos, that number 3 is Jacob Reed. The gap now between Bodlos and Byrne is 10 seconds, and in fact, Bodlos last time by, well, actually he's about to cross the lap right now. It should be a 33 something for sure. It's a 33.4. Byrne last time was purple, a 31.1. That's quite a bit of time there as he's looking to really hound on to this. It's more time taken out. It's another 31.1. He's barking through this lap and pace right now, and he's starting to almost gap Radice.
Yeah, starting to gap him just over a second the last time by, and when he touches the split, he may well not be in, will Eduardo Radice. Walter Lux 1.5 behind as well. He's going to really try and put the burners on, and there is no DRS for Eduardo Radice this time around. That is going to be absolutely huge as far as the entire race picture goes. For the number 2, this is a crucial point in this race. Can he catch up, back up to James Byrne?
What's going to be interesting right now as we keep that track map on, because we're hitting lap 26, so those hard tyres, they're probably in that window right now. The gap is a second, and I wonder when Radice comes on by, this is the DRS detection point into Maggot. I'm going to have to keep an eye out to see if he's got the green light for DRS. No, there is no light saying he's got DRS. You'll just see it when he comes level. There should be one green dot there on the left of the steering wheel. There's nothing. He does not have DRS. That's a lap car getting past. This is big. Byrne out of nowhere on softs. And remember, he got undercutted and he pulled ahead here. Brilliant driving from the American, but he's got to slow down. He's gone too wide coming through Stowe, and that's going to bring the champion back into his grasp.
It really is. Here comes Eduardo Radice having a look around the outside. Is he going to be able to get through? Not quite yet. He sits in behind. He waits. He watches. He's in control of the fight. They head now through the next couple of braking zones. They head through Village and up through the loop. Aintree is where he's going to want to get the power down and open up the DRS for the first time on this lap, and the first time for a couple of laps to see where he can go. Here it comes. Here he goes. He has a look at the back of James Byrne down towards Brooklands. No doing just yet for the Italian.
Yeah, it's crazy when you think about the Wellington straight not being long enough to make a move on DRS, and now Radice has to go through the dirty air issue that he was having, and I wonder if he's on a different strategy here as well. when it comes to some of this conserving tyre life, because he's not looking to be aggressive this time, but you'll see that green dot very shortly. The DRS detection zone is right here. There it is. That says that he has DRS ready for this lap by. You've also got Alashiachi, sorry, in the background making that move on Robert Ridgway. And there is that DRS window open, but James deciding, I'm just going to get away from the racing line. You're not going to get any of this DRS as Ridgway continues on. He'd love to get some DRS right now. A little bit of a free car battle in the picture-in-picture there as that's Alashiachi, Ridgway, and Dennis Branch at the back of the field.
Yeah, at the moment, that's going to be a good fight right further back. Of course, we've only got 16 drivers left in this race, and Jeffrey Lawler 3 laps down. I don't think we can include him in that group, unfortunately, so far, as, well, he just looks like he's losing more and more time at the moment from these drivers, and we've got a couple closer on right now. And we'll see where Eduardo Radice is able to challenge James Byrne this lap. It looks as though the provisional race leader has been able to recover quite well, as we're now over halfway through this race.
Halfway stage, remember, they will have to pit again. And really, if they've gone softs this time, it kind of suggests that they may go softs the next time. So all eyes will be on what will Reed and Bodlos do. The window, well, again, I think 30 was where some of the drivers were pushing earlier today. But this is Jacob Reed we're talking about. If I say the window's lap 30, he's going to tell me, no, it's not. It's lap 40. So that's the type of driver Jacob Reed's been this season. There he is. And, well, can you blame him? He is trying his best here to attack for this championship. Radice has kind of been unstoppable this season. When Radice has been racing, the only time Reed hasn't really beaten Radice is when they both came together in round 2 of the championship. But that gap is closing. But Radice continues to just be unable to take advantage here as the American really trying to just get some time in there as Bodlos continues on as well. He's been gapped. Check this out, Joseph. He's half a second slower than Jacob Reed on the same age hard tires.
Wow, that's very, very impressive indeed. We'll have a look at some of their tyres as well, just to see. Now, Jacob Reed, of course, in the lead of this race, Mario Bodlos, and it's fair to say that front left looks like it's struggling on the front of the Austrian's car.
Yeah, I think that's the issue right there. I think he is going to be looking at that lap 30 to come in, because we're on lap 29 right now. If he was to pit right now, you're looking about 35 seconds cone to cone. He would be coming out probably about 9th position. You can just see the track temp, but get into track, not the track tent. That's not the track tent, that's the track map. And these are drivers still battling as well as Ammon continues to look for more moves. You can't let break down here into the village. I'm going to be controversial here, Joseph. I don't like the new section here around Silverstone when they remade it back in 2009. But I do like the village. It's a very nice slow right-hander.
Yeah, it feels as though it's trying to really trying to create a new dynamic. It's, of course, the first braking zone on the traditional Grand Prix circuit that they use now. So it's a very interesting one indeed. Of course, potentially not if you're looking at the first lap, for example. But Village is a big braking zone. And I like that little segment. It opens up for a lot of the drivers where it just creates the overtaking opportunities. You break into Village for the first time, then you break into the loop again, and that's where you really try to make the move. Aintree kind of a little bit redundant in terms of its usage, but of course it drags the drivers out to the Wellington Straight. So those are a couple of different corners. I think you might just be a traditionalist, although to be fair, in your defence as well, it's the only circuit layout I've ever known. Emil Alashai going to the inside line now, heading up towards Stone, making his way through nice and easily now, trying to make the most of the pace that he's got so far in this race. And well, he has gone quicker than Rekov and Gotchman on the last lap, but both of those drivers have a little bit less need to pit.
Yeah, Rekov, I think, could be trying to take those hard to the end of the race, and these drivers on the softs, and you can see that those hard tyres are not up to temperature for Sebastian. A 34-1. Yes, he did get overtaken. A 33-4 here for Ahmed as well. So I do wonder if a lot of that is just due to the overtaking, but that's a big time issue. And again, Rekov with a slow entry there into the loop and couldn't get the power down. He will get some DRS when that does bring in Ali Oshman right behind us. Now Jacob Reed's in. This is early. I honestly, when I was joking, I wasn't joking. I honestly thought Jacob would go quite a while. It's Bodlos that's the last one to blink out of this lot. Now that had surprised me.
That is huge. That could be huge. Bodlos stays out, Bodlos stays out. Jacob Reed is in, and with 22 to go, what tyres does the Worcestershire man decide to move on to? He is on the mediums. He looks as though he's going to try to take those to the end of the race. Where does he come out? Is it ahead of Kamaya? Yes, it is, by about 2 seconds. He's got a bit of wiggle room to catch up to Kent Nielsen, so he's got plenty of time to warm up those tyres. This is a perfect opportunity, I'd say, for the undercut to be implemented.
But I don't... Again, I'm not the expert. I'm a 2.5k driver on iRacing. I'm not the expert. That's why I'm in the booth. Jacob just set his fastest lap before his in-lap. A 32.894. He got into the 32s on a set of hards. He was up to temperature. He was half a second faster than Bodlos at some point. And he's come into he's come in to do the half and half almost here with the 60-40. I felt like he had some more time, but does he know something that we don't know? Because that gap is now 20 seconds to Bodlos. It's 19 seconds to James Byrne. They've all got to take another pit stop because they are in that. And here comes Bodlos as well into the pit. This is the reaction I feel to what Jacob Reed just did. But I feel that he does not have the pace on those hard tires. And I think he will be leaving behind Jacob. There's that track map. You're looking at the number 3. That's what he needs to hope in. Yeah, Jacob's closing.
Yeah, he is. We will see where they both stack up. Of course, Jacob Reed, 8th place at the moment. And we can see out of the final corner, Eduardo Radice coming through, and he will be just passing through into the lead, into the first corner. Steneros through, Nielsen through, Reed through as well. Mario Bodlos on a set of the soft compound tyres. Where's he going to come out? Those tyres will be better. They'll fire into shape a bit better. He's going to be benefited by the fact that Kamaya is going to be boxing, but he's still going to be behind another driver who's going to be lapped, and he's going to move out the way. So Mario Bodlos, 6.9 behind.
Onto the softs. That's very surprising there. I'm wondering why that is. He can't go 22 laps on soft tires. Definitely not. Jacob Reed can go 22 laps on medium for sure. What life left in it? Well, we're going to have to wait for the next 30 minutes. You just never know what's going to happen. But he has caught up to the drivers still on the hard tires. This is Steneros and Nielsen. And he'll be catching them pretty quickly. Brand new medium tires against the hards. And what's interesting as well is Reed's probably going to be one of the only drivers to go out on the mediums to end this race, because what will these two do? They'll probably got enough time to go onto the softs, but Reed is going to get the DRS. It's a double DRS though, because Nielsen has DRS as well. Steneros does not. They almost come together. Reed's going to try and find the gap there. Leopold knows he doesn't want to interrupt that. The tire's looking really bad as well. Steneros has nothing to boot. Reed gets by. He had to make that move.
He really did. He really had to make that move. And now Jacob Reed is going to be keeping an eye on the back of the number 18. Will he go to the inside line of the first corner here? Not quite. Kent Nielsen is going to hold on to the position for the time being. Where can Jacob Reed find his opportunity? It's late braking into Village, and there's space allowed by Steneros, and that looks, or by Nielsen even, and that looks as though it's a pretty cut and dry move. Byrne and Radice, by the way, split by 3/10 at the top of the field. Reed further down the order, the gap between himself and these two, 18 seconds.
And that gap's going to be closing, especially if these two start dueling out, but I don't think they'll be dueling at the moment. But you can never say when it comes to these races. And oh, wouldn't it be amazing? You've got an Italian there in Eduardo Radice. I talked about it, 1950, the first F1 Grand Prix season opened here at Silverstone, won by an Italian, Giuseppe Farina. Going to try and make the move around the outside, but Byrne says, no, I'm just going to take that line. Want to make sure he doesn't get caught up by a slowdown there. He'll go onto the defense here. They come into the Vel chicane. And Byrne holds on, and there's not really a lot of places you can make a move here into club. Radice is going to have to wait, but he's really starting to push. And how important was that slowdown that Byrne had about 10 laps ago?
Very simply for James Byrne. It opened up the door for Eduardo Radice to get back in the fight, and now the number 2 is very much on the back at the moment of our number 1. It's the 2 top iRacing drivers in this lobby ready to go at it, hammer and tongs. And this is exactly what we want to see. High quality racing here around Silverstone, a classic circuit. And Eduardo Radice getting close. He was just under 2/10 behind into the braking zone of Brooklands. Didn't make his way through though. But the pressure is still on James Byrne. I'd say the driver's still in the driving seat of this fight. In the driving seat of the battle for the lead of this race is going to be Eduardo Radice right now. Don't forget though, Jacob Reed catching up to the back. Bodlos is going to have his work cut out for him to pass Steneros and Nielsen, and the driver with the tyres that will be the best at the end of the race if these two don't come in, which I think it'll be madness if they don't. The driver with the best tyres at the end of this race will look like it'll be Jacob Reed.
Well, they're driving in their car. It's not a Jaguar, but it's definitely going to be a little bit of madness out there. Is Radice going to look for a move again? No, and I think he's accepted that he's just going to have to work for this. Try and catch Byrne out in unconventional ways, and that's going to be tough. But these two haven't really been dueling this lap, so this may get a better representative time this time by. And it's 32.7 and 32.8. That's big, because Reed is a second a lap faster right now. That's the driver you want to be watching out for. In fact, Reed's about to come across the line anyway with 18 to go. He'll be setting a 31.8. So, yeah, it's a second faster, and it's a second, second and a half faster than the drivers in front. Everyone has to be prepared right now as Bodlos. What a lap time as the fuel starts to wear out there. But he went hard soft, remember, Joseph. He's going to have to come back in, definitely. You can't do 22 laps on softs in these temperatures.
You'd imagine so. We'll see what these drivers can do. Very, very interesting indeed throughout the course of the rest of this race. 18 laps to go, and it's going to be very fascinating to watch these drivers as they compete it out and all have their different strategies. Here goes Bodlos. This is the first move that he needs to make. The number 3 is going to make his way through on Steneros. Next drive, or the number 5 even. Next driver up is going to be Kent Nielsen, just over 2 seconds up the road, and you feel as though that's a surmountable gap, especially as he set the fastest lap last time out, and that lap was 0.2 quicker than anybody else's personal bests, which is a huge gap to have. Eduardo Radice closing in on the back of James Byrne, looking more and more aggressive as every corner passes.
Oh, he's into the pits.
Oh,
he's into the pits. I reckon this, now you look at it, we're lap 35 going 36, it's going to be 17 to go. I reckon this is a counter move, and Walter Lutz comes in as well. As much as this is also on the softs, this puts them on parity with Reed. If they go softs, 17 on softs, I'm not entirely sure. I think it can be done with the weight of the car now getting lighter, and if the car gets lighter as well, but Reed will go on by. What's the gap that Reed get? That's the crucial question here, because they both go back on softs. Well, they both go back on soft. They'll be doing times in the 30s, but how much time do they have to work? Because Reed's tyres will be wearing out about the same time as this lot, and Reed has 8 seconds. Roughly 8, I think it's even 10 seconds almost. My maths is bad, Joseph. That's 10 seconds that Radice has to catch up.
It certainly is. That's a big gap that Eduardo Radice is going to have to catch up. He's going to give it a go. He's got Walter Lux and Sander Haugerud trying to do the same thing, slightly further down and slightly further down fights. Kent Nielsen out of the pit lane ahead of Ali Gotchman in 9th place, 3.5 ahead, or behind even of Florian Kammeyer, just up ahead. And James Byrne, lead of the race, 15.7 seconds now. So he can afford to just take a breather a little bit, but not for too long, because he knows that he has Eduardo Radice catching up. He's got Jacob Reed coming in as well. Is James Byrne going to box at some point in this race for his second time? Is Steneros going to box for his first time? He's not boxed yet.
Well, you've called it on James Byrne. He's into the pit, and I think that's a reaction to what happened there with Radice and Lux. So all eyes on the number 2 car, because remember that they were so close to one another when they last came by last time. And I think Burns may get caught out by the undercut here once again. Radice has undercut him both times. Reed goes on by. New leader. Jacob Reed's into the lead. Bodlos, you can see, he had the fastest lap of the race. Looking to go ahead. He'll go ahead of James Byrne. Now, where is the other driver? Radice is going to be coming right alongside, and he's already up to speed. Radice, the undercut this time worked. The gap is 2 seconds, and that gap's going to be growing while Byrne has to warm these tyres up.
Yes, he has got to warm those tyres up, but they are soft compound tyres. They will warm up like that. They will warm up at the snap of a finger, and so he will be able to catch up to these drivers very soon. Jacob Reed now in control of this race. Mario Bodlos 4.3 off the back, but with the fastest lap of the race and with the pace of this field right now being 4/10 quicker than Jacob Reed last time out. He's very interested in this race lead. Steneros hoping to hold on to this podium for as long as he can, but of course he's got Radice behind him and about a second off of the back as well, so I wouldn't be surprised to see the number 8 into the box some point very, very soon indeed. Radice then 2.6 ahead of James Byrne. I think those two are going to have to be smart about it, otherwise they're just going to trip over each other.
Yeah, they're going to have to be careful, and I'm looking at these lap times as well, as Amin takes a 30.6. He doesn't really have a lot to lose right now. What does Bodlos have in the track, in the pace? What does Radice have in the pace? We'll probably start to see some true ties as finally Steneros goes into the pits. And well, I joked that Jacob Reed was going to go 40 laps on hard. Well, Leopold's gone 37 laps on the hard tires out there today, so that's a real good showing. But he's going to have to try and do some late running here to try and make sure he keeps his top 10. Radice goes fastest. And that's important because that is almost a second and a half faster than Jacob Reed with 15 to go.
Yes, that is huge. That is huge late on in this race. Eduardo Radice 4.4 off the back of Bodlos, who'll be wanting to get the move on now. He is last time around set a 131.718. Radice a 130.438. So he is going to be 1.3 seconds than even Bodlos in this field, who was the second fastest driver in terms of the positioning so far this season. And Bodlos hoping for his next second place of the season. Jacob Reed hoping to snatch back some points in the championship. This is going to be a crucial race, I think, in terms of the momentum swing. Reed has not won a race since Montreal. He's been third. He's had 2 seconds. He's come so close. This is his race to lose.
Well, let's knock on wood. We know what happened when he went to Long Beach. He should have had that victory at Long Beach. But unfortunately, that last lap cost him. And now this is going to be interesting because Bodlos, those tyres were already starting to wear off there. They're 6-7 lap old softs for Bodlos. Radice has got a lot of pace in these softs for the moment. But I wonder, yes, Radice is going to come across the line. He's going to set another 30.617. But James Byrne responds with a 30.261. So don't count him out of this battle. But remember, James has to find 10 seconds. Radice only has to find 7.5 onto Jacob. But if we see that Bodlos can't make these soft last for 8 laps, well, there's 14 laps to go. When's that drop going to happen for Radice and Byrne?
Well, not sure. We will see when it will, but I don't think those tyres are going to be dramatically better than Jacob Reed's for very much longer. We've seen those drives have big fall-offs. I think Amin Ali Shahi has been a great demonstration of the pace of the tyres throughout the course of this race, and he will continue to be, as of course he had that fastest lap a couple of times, but now he's in to the 31s and looks to be settling there, where Jacob Reed has been sitting for a while, where Bodlos is starting to drop into. Eduardo Radice isn't quite there yet, but he's just faltering towards it. Bodlos has not been able to make the inroads on Jacob Reed that he would have liked, so I think for these drivers, it's going to be a fight more for second place than it is for that lead. James Byrne as well, don't count him out. He's only 1.9 off the back of Radice, and he's keeping him honest, being 4/10 faster than him last time out. So I think it's a case of James Byrne being crucial in this wheel. He's the cog that starts Radice turning, who will start Bodlos' churn.
30.5 this time, but James goes faster! And And he's really cranking the time out there for Jacob Reed. Forget about Radice trying to catch up to Reed right now. All eyes on the American. What can Byrne do out there? Because that gap now between him and Radice, well, you can see it there. If you could do your maths, it's 1.6, 1.7 seconds. Really starting to turn that screw. They are catching. But until these times hit the high 30s, I think we have to start looking. I think when we see those times hit the high 30s by these drivers, that's when Reed has to start not worrying. He can just relax a little bit. But Jacob, he's made his bed. He's having a sleep in it. It's a cold night in England, thank Christ. It's cold out here at the moment, Joseph. But the temperature on the track is hotting up.
Really is. It's getting very, very heated indeed, and we'll see these drivers competing out there with 13 to go, and they'll come out of the race sweaty, and we'll go, hang on, what are you like that for? Because it was a heat wave last week, it's a heat wave next week. They've managed to avoid it here at Silverstone, and they've got 13 races to go, and as you say, they are heating up the track all in and of itself. Bodlos is closing on Jacob Reed, but not by enough. Eduardo Radice is closing on Bodlos at an alarming rate, and the gap between Byrne and Radice has remained relatively similar. So those three drivers will be pushing each other on, and Jacob Reed is going to want to keep that gap at about 4 seconds. He's about to keep Bodlos at arm's length, but Bodlos will get the DRS here off the lap traffic. That might be important.
Might be. I think it is, because he's matching Reed. Radice, though, a 30.8. Byrne, a 30.5. They're starting to come down a little bit, as you would almost be like saying that you're singing Hash Pipe from Weezer, because it starts high and then goes down in the song. And I think right now that is what Reed is looking for. But he was also a 32.1 last time, and these lap times are important for the drivers. Radice will get a little bit of this DRS, but also Bodlos will get some DRS. So on board, will we see the green light that he needs to see on for the DRS? Well, I can tell you, definitely got the green light. He's got the green light, and also so does Bodlos. So that's going to help Radice definitely as the wing comes open. But also Bodlos is also going to use that wing this time. Don't think he'll be shutting it this time, Joseph.
No, I don't think so. Definitely not at this point in the race, as now we've got more lap traffic, and Radice getting close to the back of it, but he will be able to get through in the end. That was a nervy moment for Eduardo Radice, and he was able to make his way through on Robert Ridgway, thankfully, with not too much of a problem. Here comes Eduardo Radice then on the back of Mario Bodlos, getting closer and closer every single lap. He's got 11 laps to go to really try and push the number 5 on. This is crunch time.
Byrne is right on the back as well. You've got 3 cars battling it out. And the last time by was a 31.3 for Radice, a 30.8 for Byrne. Those tyres are starting to drop, but Reed with a 32.2. So what has he got? He is a sitting duck right now with Bodlos, but Radice can't make the move this time. It would have been desperation at this stage of the race. I don't think he needs desperation, as it's 11 to go. You start to do the maths, 4 seconds. Well, it could be in 5 laps. We see them battling, but what life is left in these softs? They're pushing hard, and importantly, we're past the hottest time of the day. The track temp has cooled down a little bit, but that's not going to be any help to these drivers.
No, it really isn't for now. I think that at this point it's all about Mario Bodlos trying to push and catch up to Jacob Reed. All 3 of these drivers, you'd imagine, are burning out their tyres. Jacob Reed is loving life at the top of the field, and we'll say what these drivers can do. Eduardo Radice to the inside here of Stowe, and he makes his way through up into 2nd place. What can Bodlos do to respond? The short answer, fall into the trap of James Byrne, who gets closer and closer every single corner. Eduardo Radice opened himself up the door, just went straight through it and slammed it on the exit of Stowe.
And crucially, Bodlos doesn't have the tyre grip right now, and he was really slow as they came out of the Val chicane into club. That's why James Byrne has to make this ambitious move going into the village, and he'll have to wait for the village as he has to do the over-under through the loop. He will get the DRS, but he's losing time to Radice. He doesn't even need the DRS. He's already got that run. There's going to be no DRS here for Bodlos. That should be Byrne's overtaking. There was actually a little bit of DRS, I beg your pardon, that goes on by. Crucially, though, in that traffic, 31.4, 31.3. Radice and Burns respectively. Reed 32.1. Those times are starting to drop as we hit 10 to go. I'm starting to think that Reed might be safe here as he conserves these tires.
Yes, he may well be. He looks comfortable with a 3.5 second gap. I said that he needed a big gap at the top to just try to keep that momentum up and just keep himself with that steady progress. And that's exactly what he has managed to do. 3.2 now, Eduardo Radice and Jacob Reed. The driver on the medium compounder tyres is very much managing right now. We would imagine we're watching on board then with the number 3, and we can see that he is just, he's not really pushing them at that 100%. He is though, I'd say he's pushing them about 80, so he's not quite lifting off too much. Radice with the 31 last time out, Jacob Reed with a 32. This may well be a pace difference between the top 2 drivers. This could get spicy at the end.
But at the same time, I think Radice is soft. If the tyres start to wear out a bit, they're going to be playing a bit more havoc on that steering and that grip compared to Reed with some worn mediums. And you got to remember that Radice pitted lap 35 for these softs, Burn lap 36, Reed on mediums lap 30. As there goes the stints there, the GSRC timing tower just showing you how many laps these drivers have been, and you kind of factor in that lighter car means that there's not going to be as much tire wear, but you're still going to get tire wear on these softs, and that's a 5-lap difference between Reed and Radice. The cliff will probably start hitting soon, but will it hit before they get to DRS range? Burn is in DRS range, though, of Radice. Radice couldn't get by on the DRS. I think Burn will only take him a couple laps to get by.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see certainly what these drivers can do. 2.7 between Reed and Radice, and this will be very interesting. You can see all 4 of the top drivers in one shot. And, well, Jacob Reed leads Eduardo Radice right now. He was at roughly the end of the straight when Radice was on the start of it, so those drivers getting very, very tetchy between each other, and they're getting closer and closer every single lap. The last time around, 32.3 from Reed, and it was a 31.5 from Eduardo Radice. That was on lap number 44. As they head over to lap number 45, Jacob Reed's getting on with it a bit more. 32.1, Radice 31.7, and James Byrne even quicker than that.
Yeah, but that's 4/10. That is a cliff that has started to plummet a little bit there for Radice. He didn't even have any traffic last time by. And yes, he's catching Reed, but the tyre life's gone. The tyre life, he's using all the tyre life to catch up to Reed. I don't think he's going to have any tyre life to get past Reed at the moment. Jacob's been looking after these tyres so much. This is a very interesting battle that's happening out here. You look back at what happened at Barcelona between these two. Radice forced to a free stopper, won the race over the one stopper of Jacob Reed with a great strategy call by both drivers, but Reed could not get any pace at all into the softs, and I do wonder if that's why he's gone to the mediums today after a very interesting stint on the hard. The gap now under 2 seconds, and Byrne, now that's the interesting one. He's struggling a little bit in the dirty air with all these tyres, and I wonder if he's now starting to feel the cliff that Radice was feeling just a couple laps ago.
Yeah, very potentially. We'll wait and see. James Byrne, 8/10 off of the back of Radice right now. 8 to go for these drivers. Bodlos seems to have dropped off from these two, so maybe, just maybe, this could be a demonstration of the point of the stints at which the tyres start to go off. He's done 13 laps on that set of the soft compound tyre, and they are really struggling now, so maybe Radice and Byrne have only a few more laps of operating window. They need to make the most of it, and they need to make the most of it by catching up to Jacob Reed. 1.4 between the two drivers, Reed and Radice even, on the next time around. There was almost a second of difference between Radice and Reed. There was 1.3 between Byrne and Reed, so they are really gambling on these tyres working now, and then just about having enough life in them to defend later.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's going to be Are they going to wear these tyres out beforehand? Very slow lap time last time, by the way, by Reed. That's a big concern for him as the DRS may get play into factor. Saw a black bar on our timing tower, which means we got a driver with a black flag, and I believe that was Max Barnes having a black flag out there at the back of the field, so be coming in for a drive-through. But Byrne is closer to Radice, and Radice is closer to Reed, and I had to just check. No, Radice does not have DRS this time. He's going to have to go on the defense, though, because Byrne has DRS. That gap, though, isn't very close to look for a move, but Radice is finally in that magic 1 second barrier that he needs for Jacob Reed.
Yes, we will see whether he is going to be able to get that DRS last time by. Those drivers are going to be trying to, well, Radice is going to be trying to stay within the DRS, and Reed is going to be trying to stay outside of it at the moment. 9 tenths between those two drivers, 5 tenths between Radice and Byrne. This is getting very, very close indeed. Radice and Byrne are going to be worrying about those tyres now. They've lost a bit of their shine, and I mean, we saw Bodlos dropping off at around lap 13. They've still got a little bit of life left in them, I think more than Bodlos had, but not by much. And, well, with 6 to go, they're going to have to hold on to those tyres for ultimately what's probably a little bit too long.
Now, Radice didn't use DRS. I thought he was in DRS range there, and he wasn't. Now, that's interesting. I thought Radice would have been in the DRS range there for Jacob Reed, but remember, detection is before Village for the Wellington Straight, so that could be why, as there's a lap car that was Barnes going by and just letting them all go by. But not having DRS there for Radice, kind of a big deal. Byrne as well, losing out, and I wonder if his tyres have hit the cliff before Radice's, but the gap, 7 tenths on the soft tyres. Reed looking after these tyres. The gap is now 5 tenths. It's not been a good Beckett's and Chapel for Reed. What does that going to do for Radice? No serpentine, because Reed does not play like that. 3 tenths, 2 tenths. It closes in, and Radice is now on the back here. Pressure on with 5 to go. I think Reed needs to find some tricks in his book.
Yes, I think he needs to try to make the most of his experience, and he is one of the most experienced drivers on this field. Almost every single race on the Global SimRacing Channel, we are seeing Jacob Reed up at the top of the field. We are seeing Jacob Reed competitive, and he has to use all of that experience. He has to use all of that know-how to try and stay ahead. He's got a couple of laps to defend before those tyres are the better ones, and he's got Eduardo Radice behind him with the DRS as they head out towards the straight. What can this do? What can he do with 5 laps to go and Radice trying to pounce? 4 tenths, 3 tenths, stays in behind. Reed not quite under pressure just yet.
The top 3 separated by a second because Byrne has decided to join the party, and it's not a Boston Tea Party. This time it's just going to be a standard little picnic at Silverstone, but Reed needs to find something. He needs to will the dirty air to attack these softs of Radice, because Radice will get a real good run here through on the hanger straight with the DRS. So what can Reed do to try and navigate this, to try and limit? Can he put some attack on there? Well, he gained a 10th. Definitely gained a 10th there. Radice is going to use his DRS, and Reed decides to take the inside line here. Now he's got to the outside. Radice is going to try and fight this, but Reed around the outside will hold this position, and the outside will belong to Reed. And the inside, sorry, will belong to Reed as they come into the bell chicane. They're trying this with all their might. Radice, you can't make that work, and he's had to stop. And out of nowhere comes into the club corner for James Byrne. What a drama moment.
What a moment for this race. James Byrne is now in the driving seat of this battle. Eduardo Radice has sat in it for far too long. James Byrne has pushed him out of the way and wants to take the opportunity out of Aintree. He will go and he will try to make his way through and pick up that spot. Just trying to follow. Reed heads to the inside line. Byrne chases him, and they stay in position down the end of the Wellington Straight, and that position is far closer into Brooklands. Looking around the outside is Eduardo Radice. He wants to make that move. He won't make it just yet. The door was open, but it was only partly ajar.
And that all just summed up there because Byrne went a bit too hot and understeer on the exit of Luffield going to Brooklands. Well, Brooklands into Luffield, sorry. So I do wonder now if Radice will be attacking Byrne when they come through the hangar straight. What will be 4 to go, of course, remember. But I wonder if Reed is struggling. But if these two are battling, this is what I was worried about. If these two battle, they're going to be running off all these tyres to make this move. Radice, he's saying pick a line. I don't want the outside. He's going to try and go around the outside of Byrne, but Byrne can't do that. And again, look at the understeer from Byrne. It's really costing him right now. They are fighting too much. And they're on soft tyres. Well, when you fight with a soft tyre, you're going to be wearing out that soft tyre. This is just what Jacob Reed wants to see as the clock runs to 3 to go.
Yeah, 3 laps to go then in this race. Jacob Reed is loving this fighting between Byrne and Radice because it means that he has to do nothing. He just lets them sit. He sits back, he watches, he waits. He tries to close the gap between Byrne and Radice. And so far, it has only been successful for him. Down to the Wellington straight one more time. This is where Radice saw a gap earlier on. This is where Jacob Reed went for the defence, and he goes for it once again. Radice, once again, sits in behind. These 3 drivers have worked so hard, they all deserve it, but who's going to be able to come out on top as those soft tyres fade?
Well, to give you an idea, with all that battling, Reed with a 32.6, Byrne with a 32.9, Radice with a 33.1. Remember, he had that slow run through club to start that penultimate, that last lap. So I wonder if these tyres have hit that cliff a bit, but I wonder where his Reed's tyres hit in the moment, because yes, he was faster, but look at it, through Maggot into Beckett and now Chappell. Byrne has the better run right here. You still got more battles in the back in the race. Florian Kamaya battling Ali Ghoshman there. The battle of who's got the fresher softs, and Ghoshman pitted lap 27 on those softs and is still battling out there on softs that are about 30 laps old right now. I don't know. 3 to go though, as Byrne really closes this gap up to Reed as Kamaya tries to make that move on Ghoshman around the outside of Luffield. This is the crucial 2 to go, and Reed, well, he's on defense right now. But Byrne is on defense right now, sorry. This is big time.
This is really big time. Byrne looks to the inside. He won't make the move. That was the first braking zone on the lap. There's plenty more to go. Down towards the loop then, he's going to try to get the exit. It looks as though Radice has managed to get the better one on Byrne. He gets the upper hand as Reed starts to settle in. Eduardo Radice feels as though he can make the move. That's why he sticks to the outside line. He also feels as though he wants to protect those tyres and also protect his entire race as he heads through, because he knows that he can just cool down that engine a little bit, get a couple of extra kilometres per hour down the straight and take that advantage. They all basically cut the entry to Woodcote. They all basically cut heading down towards Copse. They pushed so hard. They've done 50 laps around this circuit. They've got just the 1.5 to go.
And this could be the big time moment, because Byrne is right on there, but he is struggling to get the throttle down. The tyres are starting to just go a little bit as he has to try and get the throttle down. And Reed knows that I can defend this line a little bit easier, and that's what he's done. Not a lot that James could do. He realised he got this P2 because Radice tried to attack into the Vel chicane. Never going to work. Byrne is going to wait. I think he's waiting for the Wellington straight.
Yeah, I think he is. I think that's going to be the prime overtaking opportunity for these drivers. It certainly looks as though they've been trying to set it up lap after lap after lap. They've not gotten close enough. Radice looked at on the end of lap number 50 to try and make the move. Here comes James Byrne to the inside, and here comes James Byrne to the lead of the race. Reed nothing to defend with. He's going to try to get the DRS through the detection zone and down towards the Wellington straight. This is where Jacob Reed can find his opportunity. He has just let James Byrne go through. He's gambled. He's given him the position, feeling as though he can fight it back. And he looks to the outside line of Brooklands. No doing just yet for our number 3. Has Jacob Reed gambled, and has he just cost himself the race? Eduardo Radice looks to the outside. Reed has a wiggle. That might let James Byrne break free.
I wonder if that is going to be it. But Reed still has the hanger straight left to do this. And Byrne is going to be attacking this. Watch the dirty air that Reed is going to have. And he's not been that good through Beckett's and Chapel. And he's going to need the best Beckett's and Chapel he has done for the last 52 laps. And it's not good enough. Half a second is the gap there. And Reed is probably going to wonder, maybe I should have attacked there. Going down the Wellington straight. Maybe 4 tenths, 3 tenths. It's not going to be enough. He's going to have to look for a move into the Vel chicane. Well, no one makes a move into the Vel chicane. The tires have given up. The tires have given up. The tires have given up. And he's gone too wide. Oh, say, can you see? On July the 3rd, the Americans are coming. The Americans are coming. James Byrne takes victory at Silverstone.
What a win. James Byrne just seeked his opportunity. Reed ran out at the end, and that was Byrne through on, the eve of the 4th of July, so he'll be ecstatic about that one. Eduardo Radi second place after making his way through, and Jacob Reed right at the very death of that race. Walter Lux came home in 5th. He was behind Mario Bodlos, who held onto the tyres just enough. Sander Haugerud came home in 6th place, and Kent Nielsen, a fantastic performance to sit in 7th for now. And then looking further down the order, Steneros, Kamaya and Gotchman, the next drivers up. Nielsen gaining 6 up to 7th place, the biggest gainer of the day in the points at least, because unfortunately we lost Adam Williams. But as we get the last few drivers to the line, we can reflect on what was one of the battles of the season.
And again, it's another last lap moment there for Jacob Reed. He had that race. You felt like he had the straight line speed at the end there. And I know that he said the good race. He knows that it's been a great race, but then he put in the chat, so dumb, and he's not attacking anybody. He's attacking himself when he says that. And that just goes to show how much he has worn that on his shirt. That's a tough one for him to go through after a fantastic strategy. But scoring has ended. The results are unofficial, but we can bring them to you with James Byrne. Technically, lights to flag. Not the story of the day, though. Eduardo Radiz goes up 2 places. So does Jacob Reed. But what does that do for the championship? Mario Bodlos will come in home in 4th, and it's P5 for Walter Lux. Sander Haugerud, outside of James Byrne, the only 2 drivers to finish where they started. He goes into 6th. Kent Nielsen will be in 7th, and Leopold Steneros will be in 8th.
Rounding out the top 10 then will be, as I mentioned just a second ago, it will be Florian Kamaya in 9th and Ali Gotchman in 10th. Sebastian Rekov in 11th and Amin Ali Shahi, who had the pace of the field it seemed today, in 12th. Dennis Branch in 13th, the last driver on the lead lap, with Robert Ridgway just the 1 lap down. Max Barnes 2, Jeffrey Lawler 4.
Yeah, and then we come into the retirees. Adam Williams, what a start it was, and it's unfortunate he will finish 17th and 26 laps down. Edward Apariari retired in 18th. Ballas Galliar as well in 19th. Filo Pomione will be in 20th, just behind Galliar, and then Lyle Pina will be 21st out there today. As we cool ourselves down, there's one driver that I think will definitely need to cool down, but it's a hot America right now. And, well, it's red, white, and blue in Silverstone as James Byrne has joined us into the booth. And, James, that looked a very challenging end of the race.
Oh, it was. Where to begin? So I was kicking myself for some of my mistakes earlier. Like, I don't know if you noticed my slowdown, where I basically lost a second and allowed Eduardo to catch right back up. And then I also felt like my timing at the pit stops was poor and basically threw away an advantage. But just to walk you through the last section there, I was just thinking I have to pass Eduardo before he can catch up to Jacob. He caught up to Jacob, but I was able to sneak by, kind of like Hamilton did a few years ago. And then I was kind of surprised by, I felt like it was fairly difficult to pass Jacob, even with the DRS. So I just thought to myself, well, if I can just pass him, the DRS doesn't seem that effective. I should be able to stay ahead. And thankfully, I was able to stay ahead on the final lap there.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about that slowdown, but you've addressed it. I don't need to ask you about that. We won't go down to that. But you were really on that last run of tires. You really were the fastest driver on the softs, and I thought, like you said, you played it wrong there. You came in I think it was a response to Radice, and the first time you responded to Radice, you were ahead. Second time you weren't ahead. You had to fight it at the end. What was crucial for you to get that pace out the soft? Because no one had the pace at the end of the race like you did.
I think maybe the anger, right? Sometimes I drive well when angry. I mean, I was thinking to myself, like, I might be destroying the tires here because I was pushing. But at the same time, if I took it slow and conservative like I had in the first stint, I thought I would just go nowhere. So in the end, I'm very glad it worked out. But like you said, I boxed in response to it Radice, both stops, and that was the mistake. I should have just preemptively done it. And although my tire wear would have been a bit worse, I wouldn't have lost like 5 seconds combined across the pit stops.
Now, James, I've got to address this. I've got to be a little bit. I've got to do this right now. Look, it's July the 3rd. You're having your celebrations tomorrow. You're celebrating dumping the tea in the harbor tomorrow, and now you've come here and won at Silverstone. This is going to, jokes aside, this is going to be a great start to your weekend right now, surely.
Yeah, I'm getting back at the Colonial Masters, aren't I? All fun though. My dad is originally British, so I do like Britain.
It's all a bit of fun at the end of the day. James, before we let you go, just quickly, Silverstone's the next round. I think it's going to be a different atmosphere compared to what we saw at Silverstone today.
Yeah, at Spa, I think you meant. I'm afraid I won't be there, which is a shame. But best of luck to everyone else who races, and thank you for you guys for hosting the broadcast.
Oh, that's going to be a shame. We'd love to see you again, because if you deliver racing like this with a decent and Reed, well, anything can happen. Congratulations on the victory, James. Enjoy your little break at Spa and enjoy your celebrations this weekend.
Thank you.
James Byrne, the winner of the night. And like I said, they'll be having a little bit of a celebration tomorrow for other reasons, but I think he can start early as we see the BRDC side. I love that old logo. I love it. And it's got the British flag, of course. But I'm going to give a thanks once again to the Grand Prix Tour community for bringing us in for this season. And, of course, a thank you to the team that has brought you this, from myself, Craig King, Joseph Black, and Christian Duploy, and, of course, Dougie Beards Cameras. Now, just because that's it, like I was saying, the next race will be Spa, and that's going to be the 17th of July. It's not 7 days, so don't worry about that. You've got a little bit of a break, but that's going to be, if it's anything like Silverstone, going to be fantastic. But if you like to see more from GSRC, we do have a great plate for the weekend as the Grand Prix Legends. The Lotus 49s will go to Lebanon. What an obscure layout. That's going to be fantastic. IMSA Vintage head to St. Petersburg Saturday afternoon for the first time. And then the Lotus 79s on GSRC and the iRacing page will go to Magello. And then we do it all again next week with Skip Barber's at Adelaide. But one man won't be there. One man will be celebrating, and one man will be thinking what could have been today. The headlines will be the American has won at Silverstone, but it should have been a British winner. Jacob Reed loses the victory, and Byrne, well, you'd think he gets a good grasp onto this title battle. He's been taking a little bit of a break. It's Reed and Reed still chasing Radice. Spa awaits them. That's going to be a classic. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we will see you on the track.
This is iRacing.